You are looking at the CSS 737-500. How you doing, everybody? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you happen to be. This is CJ, Classic Jet Sim Pilot. We're going to take another look today at the CSS 737-500. I do have another preview on my site, a flight we did from San Francisco down to San Diego. It's been a few days. The CSS team has been fairly quiet, and the moderators over on their Discord assure us that they are hard at work to correct some of the bugs present in the aircraft. We're going to give it another go today. I haven't received any updated copy, but let's take another look. Let's see if some of the things we experienced before maybe are better or worse. Sometimes first impressions aren't always correct, and while I think there are plenty of issues to be sure, I also think there's a foundation here, and it's not certainly isn't all bad by any means. The community can be pretty brutal on aircraft and developers upon release, even if they're relatively bug free. But I'm not here to necessarily pass judgment. I'm here to experience the aircraft and share that with you. CSS did provide me with this preview copy. Didn't pay for it, and but I'm still going to give you an honest look and show you what I'm seeing. So let's hop in. And get everything loaded up. Excuse me. We're going to fly today from O'Hare to St. Louis. Should be about an hour-long flight. So let's get some charts up here. Let's see, what are we planning on? We are planning on the Arch 2 arrival into St. Louis. So let's see, Star, Arch 2, and currently they're using 1-2 left. So we'll put that in there. ILS, 1-2 left. ILS, 1-2 left. Alrighty. I don't remember if I pointed this out specifically, but I do have, being in the U.S., I do have weight units selected as pounds. But as you could just see on my performance sheets, it gave me, it's given me metric units. I'm also wondering where it's pulling these registration numbers from. It's sort of interesting. Because that does not correspond with what they defaulted the aircraft to. 9 center, flaps 5 takeoff, anti-ice bleeds are off. There's no MEL items. They are the 20,000 pound thrust engines. The current weather at O'Hare. 060 at 6. Approved climb we'll keep as normal. It's dry. The temperature is 10 degrees centigrade. And the altimeter is 1022, which is also 3019. Landing will configure for St. Louis. Runway 12 left. Plan on a flaps 30 landing. Anti-ice off, bleeds off, no MEL items. The wind in St. Louis. I wonder if this will change. Oh yeah, it's not separate. Sorry, folks. We'll have to do a performance, run performance numbers again. I thought maybe they were separate pages. 9 center. Okay. So there's our V speeds. There are supposed to be click spots on the airspeed indicator that do not appear to be there. You're supposed to click this little screw to get the takeoff bugs, landing bugs, and reset bugs. So 140, 148 is V2, 142. And 139. Now normally sorry, I'm just trying to get it right. And then normally one would bug V2, but there is no bug in here that's moving. We'll see what happens. We're not even powered up yet. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. All right. First thing to do is check the battery voltage, which we can't do, unfortunately. And I did confirm in my FCOM as I went through the electric schematics. The normal bat indicator here should be wired to the hot battery bus. There's a hot battery bus and there's a switched hot battery bus. We should be seeing voltage here, but not showing. So battery on. We are getting 24 volts. We would also do a fire system test. I'll move over here so we can see the switches a little better. First is the fault in in-op. We get the fault in-op lights, as well as the overheat detect light over on the left-hand side. When we release a switch, that light goes out. So that works. That tests properly. Let me change the view a little bit so we can see the... And then we go to the overheat fire. We should get the 3 lights. Down here, we should get the bell. We should get the overheats. And then we get the master caution with the overheat. But we are not getting the fire warning, which we should be getting. So there is something amiss there. Test the squibs. System 1, we get all 3. And we get all 3. All right. Let's go ahead and fire up the APU. Get the oil pressure light, which is right. So sounds like a pretty decent. Sounds okay. APU start. No heat blur for you fans of the heat blur. And the EGT is up. Don't have a generator light quite yet. Wait for that. There we go. We can turn the APU generator on. And it's making the proper voltage and putting out the proper frequency, AC frequency. All right. Can also turn on the pack here. Open the, or turn on the APU bleed. Open the isolation valve. And put the pack on auto. All right. Load. According to our OFP, we should load up with our planned gate fuel will be 13,328 pounds. That is there. Looking for my weight loadout here. Our zero fuel weight should be 103,000 pounds. So we're a little light. Sorry, folks, I'm looking through the OFP here. Oh, it didn't load the whole UFP, or OFP. Okay. I guess we didn't... I don't recall if I checked that last time. It is not loading the entire OFP package. We did pick the correct flight, though. So, let's go back to the load here. Is this format not showing me that information? I'm going into the weather section. Here, let me do it this way so you all can see. Excuse me. Whoops. Apologies. All right. Let's take a look. So we got our OFP information here. We got our on and off times. We've got our routing. Here's our weights. So we're expecting to see 103,000 pounds. Zero fuel weight. 114.4 for takeoff. And that is our... Those are our fuel times. And then here's our flight log. Cost index. Now we go into our weather. And our NOTAMs. And then here's all our takeoff data, takeoff and landing report. Interesting. I switched to this Lido format earlier, and because in the other aircraft I fly, I get a load report that's generated with it. So what I will have to do, we have 74 passengers. Let's go to the Navigraph. 74 passengers. £4,070 with 13.3 of fuel. Alright, let's load it up. Let's just do an instant load. And our estimated zero fuel weight was going to be 87.9. This is 89.8. Estimated takeoff weight is going to be a little over 100,000, so we're at 103.7. So there we go. All right. Let's get the plane ready to go. The IRS switches. Go to nav. We should get the NDC lights for a few seconds, then they should disappear. And in about 10 minutes or so, the align light should be flashing, letting us know it's ready to go. I should have had an aft pump on for the APU. Let's turn up our lights. Again, this is something you don't see often. I mean, in the real world you see it. Typically before they leave the flight deck, the crews turn everything down, turn all the screens down. I think it originated originally with the with these CRTs, right? So you don't get image burn-in. Probably not as necessary anymore. But it was for the burn-in, also for heat. Our switches are nav, fuel pumps are on. Turn on the galley switch, because I need coffee. Circuit breaker panels, emergency light switch is closed. Lights out. Turn on our signs. Make sure our window heat switches. Oh, that's the test button. Are on. The recirc fan switch. Let's look at this panel a little closer. Yep, looks like passenger cabin temp is where it should be. Our duct supply pressure is where it should be. The recirc fan goes to auto. Overheat test, there's the wing body overheat test. And we got the master caution, did we? Yep. With the air conditioning. Well, the master caution anyway. Alright, so we got that set. The left pack I put in auto. The APU bleed is on. Isolation switch is in auto. Flight dial. We're climbing at 34,000 feet. So we're there. Elevation in St. Louis is about 600 feet. We'll throw that in there. What we did notice too is that the operation during the self-test, or not self-test, but the test of the pressurization system did not seem to work. The outflow valve did not open and close during the test. I won't go through it now. Maybe we can do once I get an updated copy, we can run through the systems test just to see what improvements are made. But I noted that on the last check here. There's a test by which you put it in a manual mode. You dial down the cabin altitude and see if the valve closes on its own. Dial it up, make sure it opens on its own. It does, it will move when you're in manual mode by using the switch. It just doesn't do it on its own properly. So again, we'll take a closer look. Landing altitude minus 200 feet is 400 feet, so we want to dial in approximately 19.5 here, and the reason you do that is purely in case there's a failure of the automatic system. It will put the cabin at the proper altitude. Just one less thing you have to do in case, it puts the altitude puts the cabin altitude proper for landing. Is basically all it's doing. We can turn on our nav lights. We've got our existing panel set. We're going to be taking off runway 9 center at O'Hare today. And 93 degrees will be our outbound course. We'll set V2, which was 148. And our heading again, 93. We'll go ahead and dial all the way up to our cruise altitude, 34,000 feet. All right. That is set. Flight director's on. Once again, that switch is at an odd place. The number 2 flight director, but it is mastered to the first flight director, so that's good. Oh, we gotta turn this up. We are at KORD. Where are we? E6 Echo 6. Yep, we are Echo 6. Let's see if it's in the database. It is not in the database, so we will, since we don't have, we can, what we can do though, is let's see, because you want to be able to put, you want to be able to be as accurate as possible. It's on the taxi charts. Let's look at the parking gate coordinates. All right. Echo 3 through Echo 6. So we're at 4158.5 north. North. I already forgot what I said. Echo 6, north 4158.5. West 8754.4. Why would that be? North 4158.5, west 8754.4. Now I realize it sort of put us there based on our last position, but 8755.4. Do I need a space? $87.54.4. I would have thought that first entry would have worked. Okay, no worries. Because luckily, we've got it right here. Alright, I wanted to get that in so we could start aligning. We'll go to RTO on our auto brake. Let's see. Let me just go through the overhead real quick. Yes, we are aligning. Test light goes off. Both of those tests, all warning number 1. Number 2. Crew oxygen. Now, my FCOM says that the crew oxygen level, or pressure, should be about 1300. And there is a valve here. I'm going to turn it all the way to the left just to see if that makes a difference. Does not appear. So, according to my FCOM, 1300 is where it should sit. We've got our low pressure. We don't have any hydraulics on, so that's normal. The fuel pumps are on. We've got nothing in the center. We've got no light, so that's good. Our APU gen's putting out good power. Batteries on. Galley's on. We've got low oil pressure in the IDGs. We've got nothing running through the main generators, so that's fine. APU is set properly. We can turn up our panel lights and our circuit breaker lights just to have them up. We got normal and no lights. I do like that you can test the lights, and they did a nice job on how the lighting looks. It's not super even. Those are all armed. Signs are on. Wiper is parked. We've got our windshield heat on with no lights. Anti-ice is off. Hydraulic pumps are off. We can, if we needed to, we can charge the system by turning on the beat pump. There's a test of the CVR. Needle should drop back to 0. It did not. Our valves, air mix valve on the left side is driven to hot. It is 10 degrees outside. So it is heating the cabin. Not sure where these like to sit. I'm just going to put it in the auto normal position. Recirc fan's auto. Left pack is in auto. Right pack is off. The isolation valve is open. Or in auto right now. And the bleed is on. And that is set. Alright. Run across the top. We've got our mode control panel. Numbers set in the way we want it. The flight directors are on. One word about the bank angle selector. There should be a notch in the handle. Or in the knob that would indicate where it's selected. So right now, for instance, it's on 10, and there should be a little notch or an indicator on here and on the other side, so it's visible from the right seat as well. So that's a little piece of modeling that probably should be added. Make it a whole lot easier to see where it is selected. My FCOM does not talk about this, and that setting, by the way, is not really applicable. It was mentioned in some of your comments earlier. That setting's not applicable when you're LNAV or VOR loc tracking. It does matter though for normal heading bug selections. So if it's like the other aircraft that have this, like the Mad Dog, since there is no auto setting on it, it's 15 when you're slow and low, and then you can bug up once you get higher. Actually, I take it back. Someone made a comment that below cruise altitude, basically below 20,000 feet or so, you're at 25 degrees, and dial it down to 15 when you're up above altitude at a higher speed, presumably. So for passenger comfort. So we'll just go ahead and leave it there. Other than that, it is all set. We'll review. Got no unusual bugs here. Everything's come to life here. Looks good. No bugs. Our altimeter was 302. 3019. And I'm about 1,000 feet above. It's caged. We've got no unusual. We can reset our fuel use. RTO is set. We'll configure the flight management system here. We get the warning. And this is also where we would set the radios. Let's move. You know, I know it's probably real, but it's kind of a pain to have to move around to see everything. since you can't move your head. I do have a track IR. I know people really swear by it, and I don't begrudge those folks that that really enjoy using it. I haven't found it to be a very satisfactory experience right now. Do you use track IR? Does it get better as you use it over time? Leave some comments. Let me know what you think. I just haven't warmed up to it. So, and I totally take the blame on that one. It's probably me. So let's go ahead and get this in here. ORD. Oh, it was already there because I had it on the previous page. It carried it over. That is absolutely correct behavior. St. Louis here. We're going to be taking off on runway 9 center. And our route of flight today will be direct Bacon, Blocker, LOKR, Bacon, Blocker, Roberts. And that is every flight from O'Hare to St. Louis will typically get that. And it's from there we get onto the Arch 2. So we'll activate that and execute. Now we can go to the departure arrival. Departing O'Hare, runway 9 center is there. And there is no SID. It is the O'Hare vector departure. And we're going to do ILS 12 left. And we could put in Rion. That's the pretty much the entire length of the procedure, and then the Arch 2 over Roberts. All right, so we'll execute that. So we've got that in the route. In fact, we can go to plan mode. Go to legs. Go all the way back. So there's Bacon. And then press the step button, Blocker, Roberts. We can remove, so this is a discontinuity. Oh, that's why. That's odd that it copied center. There we go. Because on the actual Arch arrival after Roberts is Jark, Basco, Gordo, Wild Bill, Honk, Arch, Petty, Kriya, Jack, Chodo, and then the turn on to the downwind. Getty, Harby, Buell. And then it is interesting. It should have built in a discontinuity here after at the vector waypoint. After Buell, it's just a heading, and should not automatically attach itself to Ruyan, which is the beginning of the approach. This should just extend off into infinity. So something to keep in mind. It should not have. It should not have built a discontinuity early in the flight plan, but it did after. So new route, we can go to performance and net. Okay. Let's remind ourselves of our weights. Cruise altitude, 34,000 fleet. Our zero fuel weight was 89,655, so 89.7. Cost index gave us a cost index of 7. Planned fuel 13.3. And our reserves today, $2.5 to get to Springfield, 4, 5, 6, 7. We'll call it 7.0. We can execute that. It's giving our it is a high altitude, I will grant you that, and I don't remember offhand what the preferred routing is, what it typically is between what altitude is normally there, but and our cruise wind, top of climb cruise wind today is slated to be not getting a good top of climb at altitude. It looks like 282 at 100. Wonder why that's invalid. It doesn't like 100 in there. 99. All right. ISO deviation, top of climb temperature is 3 degrees above standard. So 30, what do we say, 34? 34 and 34 is 68, minus 15 is 53. And minus 15 is 53 plus 3, so we're at minus 50. Oh, it actually did that correctly. Let's take that out here. Minus 50 should go here. There we go. And about a 3 degree difference. I don't know about it being a 37. because this is a deviation number. It's a plus or minus so many degrees. So that is not. It's not good. That's not the temperature. It's 3 degrees warmer. So I'm not sure about that. That shouldn't be like that. It's converting like as if it's the temperature reading is 3 degrees, not that it's 3 degrees warmer. Transalt is correct. We could go to takeoff here. Outside air temperature is 10 degrees Celsius. On the performance here, we should have a cell temp. Which we do not have. So, what we will do is go to our trusty Navigraph. 737-500 9 center. What was our takeoff weight again? I already forgot. Our actual gross weight. £103,000 pounds. Let's put in 104 just to be safe. Whoops. Optimum. Let's go with flaps 5. Populate the weather and calculate it. So we are looking at flaps 5. It'll give us much higher V speeds for flaps 5 at a cell temp of 50 degrees. And I think I'm gonna believe what I see here. So let's go with that. So cell temp of 50. V1 at 144, 149, 155. Let's try these click spots again just to see. No. Although it did throw the bug in here. So I do have 160, actually 155. Should be bugged. So looks like that's what moves the bugs. It moves with this and not with this. Alright, so 144.49. So 44, 49, 40, 42, 44. 44, 49, 55. And we should be good to go. Alright, we've got our pedestal set up, so I believe 200 feet is fine there. We're on 1. We can go ahead and turn our transponder on to TA. On transponder 1. Looks like we're all set. We can go to auto tune. We don't need a VOR on the way out of here. Okay. We got our flight directors on. We can arm the auto throttle. We're gonna go to heading select on takeoff. And then when we're ready to go direct to Bacon, we'll go into VNAV mode. So we've got our course knob set. We've got our flight director switch on captain. Auto throttle is on. IAS is set to V2. Heading knob is our runway. Heading altitude knob is all the way up to 34. Flight director on the first officer side is set. And just for good measure, we can set his course to 93 as well. And I think we're ready to push. See if GSX will push us. For some reason, my Quaddle has not been loading, so let's try it. Alright. Our Quaddle is running. Here we go. Hurry up and wait. Have we been GSX'd? Nope. Prepare for pushback and departure. There we go. Alright, cool.
Hello, Captain. We are ready for pushback.
So, we'll go ahead and turn the beacon on. Cockpit to ground. Can I pressurize hydraulics?
Departure checks completed.
Good.
Bypass pin inserted.
Pressurize the hydraulics. Yaw damper can go on.
Locking gear.
We can turn off the packs. ISO valve. We open up. Looks like we've got good duct pressure. We need at least 30. We're getting lifted. I always forget to change that. In fact, let me just customize it now. Customize airplane. Eliminate the pushback raise. Save. Okay. We want to pull face west on apron.
Release parking brakes, please.
Again, the brake should release when I apply. Oh, there they go.
Commencing push.
I guess I didn't.
All engines clear.
Guess I didn't press it long enough. All right, nice. Alrighty. That's kind of a noisy pushback, don't you think? I would be wondering what we're running over. What the heck? We're not running over anything. Yeah, that's a little much. Alright. So, we got good duct pressure. We'll start engine 2 first. So we'll put this into ground. And we'll watch. We have rotation. We have oil pressure. We want to have more than 20% preferably 25 or max motoring. Apply fuel. We've got N1. We've got light off. Watching N2. EGT for hot start. N2 for the hung start. Yeah, not great starting sounds. We should have starting sounds from the beginning of spin. The starter went back to off. And looks like a good start. Let's go ahead and start 1. Rotation. Oil pressure.
Please set parking brakes. Unlocking gear.
We're above 20%, so we're good to start. 25. Fuel's on. Light off. Good N1. Watching that EGT for the hot start. There's the rollback. And then it comes right back up. Now again, I am not a 737 type rated pilot. My time in the 737 is limited to I've had some training events in the sim before, but that rollback and then increase again did not feel correct to me. I could be wrong. In fact, my FCOM on the aircraft basically says once you see the rollback, you're good to start the other engine.
Clear to start engines.
Yeah, thanks. That's a weird clear to start engines. I don't know why GSX doesn't do that with other aircraft. Not sure why it's doing that with this aircraft. Anyway, we'll set flaps to 5. Handle set to 5. Indicator set to 5. And there is flaps 5. We can bring the gens online. Pitot-static switches can come on. Left and right pack switches come to auto. Isolation valve switch goes to auto. APU bleed can come off. APU switch can come off. Flight ground, we can move to flight. And the engine start switches can go to continuous. Alright. Let's make sure there's still nothing sitting on the... do the recall. And I'm a bad pilot. Before start, we are completed. Before taxi, generators are on, pitot heats on, anti-ice is off. Isolation valve auto, engine start continuous, recall checked, auto brake RTO. Yep, I did that earlier. Engine start levers are in the idle detent, flight controls are checked, ground equipment's clear. And we have good control movement. Taxi checklist is complete. Before takeoff is next. Alrighty. Let's release the brakes. Let's get out of here. Gonna go up to 9 center. Do a little brake check. We're good. How do those N2s look to all of you? Look good? I mean, an old rule of thumb on a lot of aircraft I know is the old 2-4-6-8 rule. So we got about 20% N1, 400 degrees in that neighborhood for EGT, and then 60% N2. I am using a tiller. However, yeah, it does appear to be separating itself. But the rudder pedal steering deflection seems to be just as sensitive. So it would be nice if they could build in where when you steer with the rudder, nose wheel travels limited as compared to the tiller. Anyway, first world problems, right? So O'Hare is one, is a lot of fun to fly in and out of. Of course, it's one of the busiest airports in the world. It's just too bad we don't have a current version of it. It can be very challenging when you're with VATSIM. And they don't right, they issue instructions most of the time using the actual taxi routes, how the layout is today. And honestly, I have this loaded in. I haven't looked at we're in 2020. I haven't looked at 2024's default to see if what stage the layout is in. Anyway. We'll work our way up here. We want to cut across probably on Hotel or Golf. But here's Alpha 5, which doesn't exist anymore. And Alpha 4, which doesn't exist anymore. Actually, this taxiway doesn't exist anymore. This is sort of part of the new uniform instead of Alpha. So there's runway 4 left. So we'll cross, that's the old Uniform 3, or the old Alpha 3, which is the new Uniform 3. Oh, you know what? Bad pilot. Alright, we'll hang a left here on Alpha 3. We'll head out Hotel. Cross runway 4 left here at the end. Line ourselves up to cross. And now this becomes This goes right into golf. So I guess technically, not technically, but actually that's hotel off to the left there. And this will take us right to golf, which runs right along runway 9 right. And then we'll cut across to 9 center. So just like we saw in the first video, some work to be done on the visual model. These seams are a little much, a little too pronounced. Anyway, I can shut the lights back off. Alright, let's talk about before takeoff. So we got flaps, 15 on the handle, 15 on the gauge, or flaps 5. 5 on the handle, 5 on the gauge, 5 in the FMS. What was our trim? Stab trim of 5. Okay. And our stab trim is 5. So we're all set there. And we're just passing Foxtrot. And we got Golf, or Sierra. So at V2 plus 70, I can go to, or V2 plus 15, which is 170. I can bring my flaps up to 1, and then the F speed will be on the speed tape, and then I can go clean. So we'll advance the power to 40%. We'll engage toga. Cross, get over to the center, and then we'll get out of here. The ground handling is a little odd. It seems a little too sticky. It's not a big airplane. The 500, the way United Airlines had it configured, had 108 seats. It's a little smaller than the 300. The engines are a little bit less powerful. I want to say the 300 had 23,000 pound thrust engines. This is 20. But it's a very high performing aircraft. It's a little rocket ship, and I would expect it to roll a little bit better. When I'm at idle, it slows down feel like it took a lot more breakaway thrust than it normally should. All right, here we go. 9 center. So again, runway heading. We'll make the turnout once we're at the lowest we can make the turn is 400 feet above the ground. It'll be a right turn out to Blocker or Bacon, and other than that, I think we're ready to go. Lights, camera. And action. Here we go. Yep. Lights, camera, action. All right. Let's go flying. Toga. Power is set. Should be 83.6. It overshot just a hair. Throttle hold. 100 knots. V1. Rotate. Come on. There we go. Positive rate. You're up. Watch your ears. It's decent sound. You go to flaps 1. And we can go direct Bacon. Be a right turn. Something like 180. We'll start with. We are in heading mode. And we're above F speed. Before I bust the speed limit, we'll keep accelerating. Bacon, direct. See, it's copying. It shouldn't be doing that. It's copying the CTR after the waypoint. It should just be giving us so now we go to LNAV, VNAV. It should be accelerating. I never came out of plan mode. Shame on me. There we go. Now it's queuing properly. Let's take the range out a little bit. That's aggressive. But not incorrect. It's trying to get back to when I hit the direct to Bacon. But that was a pretty good swipe it took. All right, we're through 10,000 feet. Landing lights off. It's like I forgot how to fly. I'm telling you, learning how to stream, meaning talk and do everything at the same time. My hat is off to the folks that do this all the time. I apologize. I'm gonna have to get better at that. I even said lights, camera, action. I got every light except the landing light. My bad. But that's what I'm here to show you is everything. Do we have an after takeoff checklist? Engine bleeds are on. Packs are in auto. Landing gears up and off. Flaps are up. No lights. After takeoff checklist is complete. All right. On track to bacon. Let's sync up our heading. Habit you want to have. I do like how you can scroll a little faster than the heading bug, so when you stop, it's the heading bug sort of soft stops. That's pretty realistic visuals there. I also really like how it handles the needles. I don't remember if I mentioned this in the first flight, but again, it's these little things. Look, there's a lot of bigger issues, we all know. 180-2992. There's a lot of issues that have to be corrected. And, whoop, went a little too far. But there are these little details that they did correctly that I really appreciate. And, one of those is the way the RMI needles move. You just saw there was some wandering going on. I assume that's because the auto-tune was changing stations. On a lot of aircraft that are very good aircraft and otherwise just exquisitely modeled, the needles, especially if they're older style RMI, like mechanical needles, they just sort of snap to position. Now, there is an element of that in real life sometimes when you turn the instrument on, if it's already tuned, or when you switch needles, it can snap to a position. But when it's on and doing its thing, and you get signal abnormalities and things like that, the needles tend to wander sometimes, especially when you're talking about it, if you're tuned into NDBs. But the animation they built into the needles here and the way the gauges react, where they don't stop immediately, is really good, and maybe that's indicative of the past of what CSS worked on before, because I know they produced they've been in the commercial flight sim world. So maybe the systems building and things like that, maybe that's all the result. But anyway, again, I'm plenty of work to be done. There's no doubt about it. The FMS is not, in my mind, I don't feel like is giving us a proper climb speed. I feel like 260 is a little slow. Especially, well, I wonder what our OFP is showing for the climb. Well, we should be somewhere around Mach 7.2, high 7.1s at cruise at this cost index, I suspect. So we'll see what happens when we get to cruise. We're not going to be at cruise for very long. That is faux show. We got, I think let's double check the arrival since we don't have much time. We got Roberts. Here, let's bring it up here so you can follow along. St. Louis. Let's go to Star. Why is this spinning? Not a fan of that. Landing. KSTL. Now, this runway at St. Louis definitely falls into a standard where we don't have to do a specific because it meets the criteria for just the as long as there's nothing unusual going on. 1-2 right. Off 20k. Wind speed in St. Louis right now. 390 at 5. Maximum landing weight in kilograms is 49,895. So 49,895 kg. It's 110,000 pounds. So we are well below that. So we're in good shape. So now we're getting up to cruise altitude, so we can turn our bank to 15. But again, has no effect. But you want it configured so that it's ready to go. And we had that really strong wind out of the west, 100-knot wind. So that looks correct. I will say I much prefer having the EFIS control panel up here. Anyway, we're checking our descent. So our first crossing restriction is honk. And we want to be below flight level 380. So there we go. At 280 knots. So good. Arch, 280 knots, above 11,000. Petty does not have a restriction. Kriya, between 15 and 11 at 280. Chodo, 1,000 to go. Chodo, Getty, 210 knots, between 7 and 8. That's correct. Above 5,000 at 210 knots. And Buell, 210 knots at 5,000. All right. And then this funny little vectors thingy. All right, so we're coming up on our cruise on level off. Oh, I see. Now it's bringing us back to our cruise. So what I'm looking at right now, 35,000 feet. There's our 7.2 Mach. This is where it's bugged. Oh, here comes the power. Yeah, see, this is that's VLS, the lowest selectable airspeed, and the idea is the FMS should keep us above that hook at all times. However, and we're right at it. The flight plan gave us a 7.1 Mach, it's almost 7.2 at this altitude, using a 737-500. Profile. So that makes me wonder. Excuse me, I'm gonna try to find a cruise chart here for the 500. Our top of climb is approaching quickly. I realize that. Yeah, I don't have cruise tables. I just have the takeoff and landing tables. So I don't know about that. I don't know if SimBrief has incorrect planning information, an incorrect profile, because theoretically it planned for an airspeed that we cannot safely get to. 716 would be below VLS. Now, if that is truly what's in here, although it's interesting, this says 260 knots. Ooh, I didn't even do anything. Jark is our next waypoint. Anyway, it says 260 knots, which we're not getting. I would expect the FMS, because it's an FMC speed, I would expect it to command 260 knots. So that's a little suspect to me, even if we did flight plan at a different speed. So we have some discrepancies there. I'm not gonna, again, I'm not a 737 type-rated pilot, so I don't have these things, that knowledge off the tip of my tongue. But something is definitely not right there. 741 is going to be our MDA, so let's set the our decision height for the ILS to 12 right. Remember when we took off out of San Francisco, or if you didn't see it, when we did do it, the top of climb was wildly inaccurate. This does not seem to be as wildly inaccurate. We need to cross... let's see if I can pull up the chart yet. Yeah, that's a bummer. It's not loading. Oh, there we go. All right, cool. That's weird. I couldn't get to him through here. But I could because it was start. Our first crossing restriction is to be below honk at 310. So honk is right here. And then the system, see how it's got us much lower? It's got us at 251 at Wild Bill. So that's 9,000 feet, 27 miles out from our top of descent, which is coming up just before. So 27, that's 25. So just before. So that, if it wants us crossing at 23,000 feet or so, 26,000 feet, it just changed. It's changing all the time. That's not, that top of descent looks okay for that. I'm just wondering why It wants a solo at honk. Oh, well, it's probably about right. Because you know what? Here at JARC, there is an expected flight level 280. So anyway, let's dial in 11,000. And as Boeings do, it will start down. All right, we got our vertical track indicator. Let's turn on airport data. Oh, I forgot to look up. It also kind of bugs me that we don't have any on the data. We don't have any the altitude constraints on the nav display. Again, I don't know if that's correct or not offhand. I know other aircraft of this era show it. And, oh. There we go. Nose down. Full toga. Well, that was exciting, chat. How about that? Let's get the auto throttle back on. ENAV, LNAV. Whoop. That should definitely not have happened. There I was talking to you all instead of... Let's just level off at 300 right now. There we go. LNAV, VNAV. Auto throttles are back engaged. Let's go to vertical speed mode. Let's just set a 500 foot per minute descent on LNAV. Alright, I have it set to a 500 foot per minute descent. I have it set to 280 knots is what we should have. Put it in speed mode. And it's still showing us, well, we're still below the but it's still showing we're just slightly below the vertical track, which I don't know if that's correct or not. I don't feel like, because we got arch at 11, well, 11 or above. Korea is really our... We need to be at 11,000 feet. Okay, sorry about that, chat. Listen, why is our speed bleeding off again? We're in speed mode. It should be declining MCP speed. It should be on vertical speed, and it's not. So let's take control. Yeah, that's not supposed to happen. So let's... might have to hand fly the rest of the way. This is when it's nice to have the hardware mode control panel as well. Alright. Just follow the flight director needles. We should be pitching for about a 500 foot per minute descent. Let's get the plane where we want it, and then we can re-engage the autopilot. See if the flight director is really doing what we want. A little slow, so I'll add a little bit of power. But it seems to be commanding for that 500 foot per minute descent. Well, I did not have this kind of trouble with the autopilot on my first flight and the flight management system. A little fast, so I can bring back the power, and I don't want to pitch up a whole lot because I'm on what I have selected in vertical speed. I'm on course. If I bring the power back, the nose should drop a little bit. I must be trimmed for... I'm trimmed for something like 290 knots. Again, I'm just trying to find the pitch power and needed for the what I want. 500 foot per minute descent at 280 knots. All right, there's 280. The pitch command bar is correct. It wants me to pitch up a little bit. Let's try this again. Speed. Vertical speed, LNAV. Speed. Autopilot. Let's see what it does. I'm commanding 280 knots. The throttle should be coming up right now. It is trying to hold. It is trying to hold the proper profile I have set up. So if we go to VNAV, VNAV, did bring us back to idle. But see how it's commanding a pretty healthy descent when it's showing us below the desired path. All right, once again, I might be producing some of these errors, but this is not a completely foreign, mode control panel and autopilot controls to me, both from aircraft, transport category aircraft I have flown, and from my experience in 737s within the sim itself, within Microsoft Flight Simulator. And it's on my way to Arch. Even the FMS should be commanding 280 knots. And it's showing FMC speed. It's not following the VTI. I have vertical nav and lateral nav activated. I got the banana. That theoretically should be showing when we're going to hit our selected altitude of 11,000 feet, which is not correct. Well, 2,000, where are we, 5 minutes away? 9,000, 3 minutes away, the way it's descending. And it's like it's trying to maintain 230-ish knots. Altimeter in St. Louis is 3014. So while if you recall my first flight, or if you haven't, go watch it, the flight from San Francisco to San Diego, the autopilot flew the plane fine. The problem was with how the top of descent was calculated, and then the rates of descent it was commanding to remain on the desired vertical path. This time, however, we're getting into all sorts of other trouble in the autopilot, what the autopilot's doing. So here we are again. It should be commanding 237 knots to Petty, and we're getting down a little slow. We're getting below the L over D max, green dot. And notice when I put this in, because this had been pulled out from earlier, this is actually commanding 237. So the airspeed bug is going to what is in the FMS, but it's not following what it should be asking for, and it's getting a little slow for my taste. It's getting way slow for my taste. So that's me messing with my throttle, so it doesn't disconnect the hardware throttles. So let's try to manage the speed ourselves then. We should still be on the VNAV path and the LNAV path. So I've got the throttles. This is a pretty unorthodox way to fly the airplane. the auto throttle disconnect warning works, right? I disconnected it, and got the red light and canceled it with a second click. So that is correct behavior. All right, coming up on Petty. Petty is at, does not have a crossing restriction. After that is Korea. That's 280 knots. Yeah, I should be going 280 here. Pull. There's 280 knots. That's what I want. Right? Korea at 280 between 15 and 11. Well, I'm definitely between 15 and 11. So it is putting me there between 15 and 11. And 280 knots. So that's good. Let's get the ILS tuned up. 1089. We'll go to manual. Our inbound course, 123 degrees. I don't know what that bump was. Oop, now we're going too fast. So it appears as though the issues I'm seeing are more with the auto throttle system. Well, why are we climbing? Did it all of a sudden wise up and decided we need to, we're way too low? What's it doing? By the way, I don't hear the trim running, and you should. The 737 has a lot of pitch moment, especially when you're increasing the power. When you increase the power, the nose wants to come way up. And, all right, now it wants to descend again. And I'm bringing the power back so we can stop gaining so much speed. I take it back. It is having VNAV problems. I thought for a second, well, it actually is doing a fair job now. The problem is just with the auto throttle system. But while we know there's issues with the auto throttle system because it is not, and the how it translates what you set in the GCP or what's in the CDU, what you set in the CDU. It is not following a path. Yeah, Korea should be 280 knots, which I had set in there. Jack. Our next intersection is Jack, or our next waypoint is Jack, which is straight ahead, between 11 and 10. We're slowly coming back to 280. Yeah, definitely some work to be done here. And there was a comment or two in on our after our last video that talked about, you know, how VNAV wasn't used very often by pilots of this era because the VNAV was not great. Just making sure we're not going to get any engine ice. Our TAD is above 10, so we're good. there is some truth to that. 1,000 to go. However, and it's a big however. Actually, the bottom of it is 5. So let's continue the descent all the way to 5. However, this is not what we're seeing. Is not that first generation foible when it comes to that. So, right, this is, and I think it's pretty obvious. So this is far beyond, first generation or second generation VNAV issues. There are some aircraft in Flight Simulator that kind of simulate that inaccuracy or the limitations, right? The AnyBuild's A30, the 300-600, the 306 is a great example. It trips up a lot of people, and I remember when it came out, you saw it on their Discord all the time, that, hey, it's not adhering to climb restrictions on climb out. No, it doesn't, and it didn't, and the real thing didn't. So, and it's not always great on descent. It does have some inaccuracies built in. Now, when you talk to pilots that were flying in the 80s and 90s, when VNAV started becoming kind of a big deal, I think part of the I never use it also comes from the fact that they had spent the last 20 years of their lives flying without it. So take that with a grain of salt. Pilots, as much as anybody, are creatures of habit. And they like what they like, and they like what they're used to. And there's no getting around the fact that probably a lot of the problems that were brought on by that or that were reported by the first generation of VNAV were partially due to pilots not wanting to adjust or not being comfortable with it. All right, we're descending through 10,000 feet. Lights are on. I'll ding the flight attendant. Do an approach checklist, descent checklist. Pressurization, we set. Recalls checked. Auto brake, we'll just set to 1. We'll set to low. Landing data, we did. We're underweight. Approach briefing is completed. Altimeters 30. Oh, we didn't set the altimeters. Oh, 3014. I did on the standby, but not on the primary. All right, 3014. Thank God for checklists. Now we are turning the downwind. The airport should be off our left side here momentarily. And we need to be slowing to 210 knots. So I'm going to bring the power back. There's the airport. Right there. There's the city. There's the arch. And there's the airport. So LNAV has done a fair job. We had a little bit of aggression on that first climb, but the first turns as we were climbing out of O'Hare, but not horrible. All right, we can get our flaps 1 out at 230 knots, so we're continuing to slow. Yeah, Getty should have been between 8 and 7. Herbie is above 5, and Buell at 5. So here we can see it's saying we're way below the VTI, but we are not. We are above the desired vertical track. So that is definitely not correct. Let's put some speed brakes out to help us slow down. that animation's a little odd for that speed brake. It's not fluid. Like, I've got half speed brakes out, and there's no speed brake coming up. Now they're up. There's a... But... Oh, we're getting slow again. Let's bring the power up. But I could feel in the airplane when I have the handle out a little bit, right? So the animation seems to be off a little bit there with the speed brake. Anyway, let's go flaps 1. It's mostly slats with a little bit of flap. I'm going to sync up my heading bug, and we're going to go... We're going to stay on this heading. The actual... 301. Yep. 301 should be our heading after Buell. And we should be at 5,000 feet at Buell, and we're not. We're high. This diamond should be down here. But it says we're 1,100 feet low. Not correct. Actually, we can go all the way to flaps 5. Flaps 5 selected. Speed checks. And the tape did move down 225 knots. I want to be 210. Let's go ahead and arm the speed brake. Oh, there we go. It is armed. Okay. Excellent. Speed brake is armed. Flight director's coming off. I'm going to hand raw data rest of this approach. We should have been on the 305. Again, even I forgot that discontinuity was there. And I've been talking about it this whole time. Hey, why is my trim going crazy? It's not, but the sound is stuck. Alright, that was weird. The trim was not continuously trimming, but the sound was stuck. 305, there we go. Alright, we're on 305 degrees. I still am wanting to descend to 5,000 feet at 210 knots. Flaps 5. Yeah, that sound, like I just blipped the trim and the sound plays for a long time. 1,000 to go. Got some roll to the right here too, and I did calibrate my controls fairly recently. Alright, let's make the turn around all the way around to 120. Let's go say 150. Slow to 180. Just 5,000 feet. Want to slow to 180. Again, I just blipped the throttle, blipped the trim, and it's acting like I was holding it down. Yeah, I'm not happy with the trim sounds. And that is a very iconic 737 sound, that trim wheel. That tss, 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 tss. So not only does it not sound quite right, because it's not that deep, it doesn't sound integrated into the airplane. It sounds like it was, tacked on above the sounds of the airplane, if that makes any sense. All right, I need to slow down a little bit. Oh, Loke's alive. I'm going to tighten up the turn just a hair, not to go past 30. That'll also help us bleed some speed. Okay, there we go. Let's get our hunting bug around 120-ish. Sorry, the altitude's getting away from me. Just failed my check ride. What's our MSA? 2,300 feet. All right, we're not going to hit anything. But let's... Come on. CJ, get back to... This is really sloppy. But I want to be at 180, so I'm not bringing in too much power, because the little climb I got to do should take care of that. In fact, let's go to 170. I'm going to bug it. Slow up. One 23. 1, 2, 3. Okay. I got my heading bug really where it is. Looks like the wind's coming right down the pipe. What am I? About 3 degrees, 3, 4 nose up to hold this. I'm a little left of course. There's some rain showers ahead. There's the wide slope is alive. We'll go to flaps 15. Whoa, that's serious nose up. That's landing your warning horn, but I'm not back at idle. Oh, it's because I'm at flaps 15? I don't have the gear down. So we're on glide slope. A little left of course. .26 knot ref. That's 131. Although we're still a ways out. Creep is my final approach fix. Getting a little low. Looks like we're coming into the rain. Alright. Start our slowdown. 25. Here's our speed. That's 30. I guess I went right to 30. I must have missed the 25 gate. Alright, before landing checklist, gears down 3 green flaps, 30 indicating 30, green light. Back to the glide slope. Should be about a 600 foot per minute descent. We're back in the rain / haze. Get a little fast. There's 2,500. Maybe you 737 pilots. I know there's sounds like there's a couple that have watched my video before. Take a look at these power settings and see if they look right for what I'm doing here. I am a little fast, so like 15 knots fast. So I'm trying to adjust for that. Whoop. That low. Let's not let it get more. Come on. Fly the plane. We are in the rain. Oh, come on. I don't want it to go missed. We're correcting. We're correcting, chat. Alright, let's get back to that 500 or 600, 700 foot a minute descent.
1,000.
We're still...
1,000.
The wind's picked up a little bit. A little more off our right side. That's a big correction, though. Let's go back.
1,000.
There's the lights. Just could never get it trimmed right. I have shot some approaches in the level D sim in this aircraft, and it was not this difficult to sort of get trimmed up and keep it on glide path. Alright.
500.
We are a little fast. Brings throttles back a little bit. Get caught back up. Alright, on glide path. Pappy showing us a dot low. Two in reverse. I do like those reverse sounds. Alright, there's 60 knots. I should be out of it. I do like those reverse sounds. I'm sorry. There's a lot wrong with this airplane, but that's not one of the things. Okay. We made it. It was kind of a sloppy approach, but considering all the issues we had on the way in, could have ended a lot worse. Alright, let's keep it rolling here. The auto brake. Oh, it is disarmed. It did not disarm with my brake press earlier. Maybe I didn't push him hard enough. Well, welcome to St. Louis. These light click spots are hard to navigate. Okay. I'm not sure where we're going here. Let me get off the runway and clean it up, and then we shall decide. I don't know the terminal's over here. Yeah, let's make the hard ride. Flaps up. Speed brakes in, speed brakes down, lights are set. We'll go ahead and fire up the APU. What gate did the last United A19? Let's see if GSX stayed with us. Nope, it would appear not. Gosh, I don't know what's going on with GSX. Alpha 19. That's way at the end of the terminal. Where am I? So I got a ways to go. So let's just taxi down Echo here. And we'll turn in down by Quebec. There's no after landing, so it's a flow primarily. APU's on. Anti-ice is can be off. Transponder, come down here. Transponder, we can go to standby. Radar's off. And flaps are up, lights are out, speed brakes are down. Okay, I think we're good for the taxiing. We'll go to Alpha 19. Well, that was interesting to say the least. Not quite as smooth as our first flight as far as the behavior of the flight management system and the autopilot. We got to experience some aggressive maneuvering after departure out of O'Hare as it tried to recapture a course. We got into a high altitude stall situation. Although the airplane flew out of it the way it should. Disconnected what I needed to disconnect. Went to Toga. Or actually, I was slow on disconnecting the auto throttle. Click click is what the sim instructors taught us. If you get into a bad situation, meaning autopilot off, auto throttle's off. I clicked the autopilot. Well, the autopilot did it for me. But I tried to go to Toga first instead of disconnecting the auto throttle. So you can tell it's been a while since I've flown a real world transport category airplane. I'm out of practice. But the most important thing, get the nose down, trade altitude for airspeed. We were at 34,000 feet. So we had plenty of airspace, and we flew right out of it. And we just got to the shaker, but you treat that as first indication of stall. You act. So we got it back up, but then we discovered that the speed commanded by the flight management system is not what the auto throttles were going to, and I couldn't figure out what the auto throttles were going to. That was the mystery. It wasn't going to. I just don't know. The VTI, the vertical track indicator, it was not accurate, and so it was showing us low when in fact we were very high on the approach into St. Louis. Let's go ahead and turn in on Papa here. So yeah, still some major problems, and I'm gonna guess that that's what we're seeing the CSS team working on right now, and why they've been so quiet. I guarantee you they've been watching these videos, and from what I understand, and somebody even commented on it on the last video, that programming of the FMS is one of the most difficult. Have you turn all the lights back on right now? Is one of the most difficult things in the sim. And I'm assuming it runs outside of the sim, so it's their own custom FMS. And that being the case, that's probably why we're well past release, and there's been this delay. Well, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. And the reason I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt is because after my first flight, I had a conversation with one of the developers. I'm pretty sure he's the lead developer. He was kind enough to reach out to me and discuss it with me. We didn't talk too long. He had another call he had to take, but he was very interested in what I thought. He was very interested in my experiences, and I feel like they want to do a good job. I think that's especially true because of the pricing model they're introducing, right? The subscription pricing model is, raising a lot of eyebrows, if that's an understatement. Right? I believe the plan is you can buy it for $120. You can buy a year-long subscription for $50, or you can buy a month-to-month for $5. And a lot of people are saying, I'm not going to subscribe to that. It's an incomplete. Well, first of all, the aircraft isn't even released yet, so we don't know what the version is going to look like when they release it. The airplane flies pretty well. I mean, you saw, I just did a complete hand-flown raw data ILS approach here into St. Louis. And other than my rusty skills, I thought the plane did okay, hand flying. And I also want, if any of you out there are real-world 737 pilots, that's why I want to know if the power settings you saw on my way in make sense. Sorry, that was Guado. I'm having to restart it, so at least we can look good as we park. But I feel like they weren't far off. I feel like the problems hand flying were all, pilot induced. All right, Alpha 19 is here on the other side of this Alpha terminal. So that's why I keep saying I think they have something. I like the way the cockpit looks. I mean, it could use a little more work, Another thing I noticed the other day are the outer marker beacon lights. They're just sort of stamped onto the. See how this is over that? It doesn't look quite right. I don't know. I know it's hard. They're not the first developer to have issues with sort of clear looking gauges like that. There's Alpha 19. It's a hard thing to model to get right, but I would suggest they're not really that clear. They could probably look a little more solid. But anyway, and the switch placement over here, and some of the textures are a little goofy. Sorry about that. I just had a... See, now this is interesting. I should not need 40% on one. In fact, that's probably the maximum breakaway speed. So I'm not sure what got in the aircraft's way. Anyway, look, there are definitely there's plenty of opportunity here to improve the product before release. That didn't work. GSX is being ridiculous because I am at Alpha 19. Let's go outside. So there's plenty of opportunity to improve the visual aspects of the aircraft. There's no doubt about it. But I feel like the basic flight model is not horrible. Seems to be there. Or if it's not there, you know, I'd love for somebody who's flown the Classic to comment. All right, let's go to ground ops. Doors. Let's get the chocks in. APU pack on. ISO valve open. Turn the right back off. Left back on auto. Let's get on the generators. On the APU generator, I mean. Did you see that upper panel flicker when I switched it over? That looked pretty good. I like that. And we'll shut it down. We get below about at 10%. Turn the beacon off. Get the other lights off. All right. Chocks? Can I get the chocks now? There they are. As soon as the chocks are in, I can get the... Yeah, GFX flaked out on me again. Gosh, what is going on with that? Anyway, chocks are in. We'll get the GPU on. And we'll do the shutdown checklist. Fuel pumps are off. Pitot heat is off. Hydraulic panel. Nope. Is off. Flaps are up. Parking brake is set. Engine start levers are in cutoff. Weather radar is off. I should have GPU. There it is. Bam. I can turn the packs off. And I can shut down the APU. So there we have it. Oh. Taxi light. Should have head off on the taxi. All right, so there you have it. Flight number 2, Chicago to St. Louis. Again, we definitely have some work to do here, folks. Was not quite as successful as the first one, but I think I went through everything. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed this preview, second preview look. I look forward to seeing an updated version. Hopefully they'll release an updated version to us streamers so we can preview that. I am going to be out of town next week for a week, but so if they get something to us this week, I'll make sure to let all of you know. But anyway, thanks everybody. CJ, your classic jet sim pilot. I appreciate you coming with me today. And more videos to come real soon. Reminder, I'll try to release a long form every Thursday with some shorts in between. And we got some more classic jet stuff coming. It's going to be released this next Thursday. So keep the shiny side up. We'll see you next time.